Hey friends, my name is Melissa Mayville. I'm a theater arts teacher at Victoria School of the Arts in Edmonton. My email, if you have any questions about this drama module or any of the other drama modules, is melissa.mayville@epsb.ca, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. If I had a superpower, it would be to fly. Welcome to Mime Basics. I'm excited to be teaching you some mime rules. And today our goal, our synopsis, is how do we create a believable world with no words, no set, no props, just the bodies that we come with. So I'm excited about that. The key rule about mime, the number one rule, is if you see it, the audience will see it. If you don't see it, the audience won't see it. So it's really about creating focus and where we're looking, where we're giving our attention to, and how we can create that world in the space that we have. The curricular outcomes that we're going to look at from the Alberta Program of Studies: use movement to communicate non-verbally, translate sounds, words, images, and emotion into movement, and communicate environment, character, and situation non-verbally. Because this is a mime unit, we don't need to warm up our voices, we're just going to warm up our bodies really quickly. So I'm going to invite you to follow along with me, just because it feels so good to have a partner in crime. So reach up super, super high, up on your toes, drop your hands, drop your elbows, drop your shoulders, drop your head, roll all the way down, keep your soft knees. We're going to roll up vertebrae on top of vertebrae, keeping those soft knees so we don't hyperextend. Head is the last, come up. We're going to float our arms all the way up. One more, hands, and so roll up. Hands the last to come up. Amazing. We use our hands all the time in mime to communicate where things are in space. So I'm going to do a bit of a warm-up with our hands. There are three kind of positions I like to use in mime with my hands. One is the shell. Second is the palette. Third one is the daisy. The palette, just as a note, should be sort of a flat hand. So some people come with those like super awesome hyperextended hands. Just try to make sure that they settle into that flat space. Excellent. So we're all going to do it together. We're going to do shell, palette, daisy. Shell, palette, daisy. Shell, palette, daisy. Shell, palette, daisy. Amazing. The more you do it, the more you should start to feel your fingers aching a little bit as we wake them up. Right on, shake that one off. Last one we're going to do is we're going to just warm up how we isolate certain body parts from each other. We're going to do that with our hands still. So we're going to put palms to palms. We're going to roll in our fingers from one side all the way down. And then wherever we started from, we're going to unroll. We're going to roll in, and then we're going to unroll. And then as you start to feel comfortable, you're just going to see how fast you can get that rolling. Amazing. Shake that one off. Last one, hands in a nice palette. We're going to do V, W, V, W, V, W, V, W, V, W. Sorry, I lost that one. And shake that one off. Amazing. Hopefully we're feeling sort of warm. We're going to start today with something called fixed point. Fixed point means something in your space that shouldn't move, an imaginary thing because we're looking at mime, something that doesn't shift or change spots. So something like a counter, a table, the refrigerator, a wall, a door, all these things, once we've established them in our mime world, should really stay there the whole time. So we're going to look at three different ways that we do that real quickly. Hopefully you'll play along with me. So I have these nice rostrum blocks. I don't know what you have at your house. You probably have a table or a counter, or even if you have somebody who's kind of playing along with you, maybe a sibling or a parent or someone who just wants to learn some things as well, they can become the fixed point. I'm on my own today, so I'm going to use these rostrum blocks and look at fixed points. So first of all, I'm going to take my palettes. I'm going to put my palettes about an inch above where my rostrum blocks are. Super simply then, I'm just going to look at three different ways, directions that we're going to make this happen. I'm going to try, my goal is to try to keep my hands the same distance from my fixed point the whole time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move backward, and I'm going to move forward, and go back, and forward, and try to keep that so solid. If you were working with a buddy, they can put their palms up in a pallet, and you can put your palms just again about an inch above them, and then they can offer you some feedback of how you're doing. Maybe let you know if one hand is shifting a little bit more, or if you've lost control, or your hands aren't nice pallets. All this kind of stuff, they can kind of help guide you a little bit. The next one we're going to do, same thing. We're just going to go side to side. It's okay to go real slow because we want to be specific as possible. Okay, and the last one we're going to do is up and down. So again, this one gets arguably a little bit more tricky. I'm going to move down, then I'm going to come up. I'm keeping that same distance, and move down, and then I'm going to move up. Excellent. Once you feel like you've got that, try that a few different times. And again, the slower you go, the more focus you're going to have, so you can really watch. You see what I'm doing? I'm always giving my attention to the fixed point. And that's another way that we endow the object, the fixed point, with space as we create. So after we've done that, I'm going to move just away from the boxes. And I'm going to try the exact same exercise on my own. So first I have to visualize what my fixed point is. I'm going to imagine that I have a counter in front of me. I'm going to place my hands just above the counter. I'm going to move back, and do the same thing, and forward, and back, and forward, and side, and side. And lastly, I'm going to go down and up. Try that one more time. Down and up, and continuing to try to keep that fixed point in the same place. So that's fixed point. Again, that's going to alleviate any problems that you have on stage where you set up a table and you're getting ready and you turn to grab something and then you walk over and you, oh, I walked through my table. So it's just about establishing where that stuff is in space. Next, we're going to look at something called pulse on, pulse off. This looks at the scientific reasoning that when an object is moving through space, it will only stop when it meets up with an opposing force or energy. And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about pulse on, pulse off. When we grab objects in a mime world, we have to make sure we're endowing it with mass, because every object in space should have mass, even in our mime world. So things like when I'm watching scenes, lots of times I'll watch people grab glasses or cups and kind of like willy-nilly grab them out of the air. I got cups, I drink, and then I just kind of let it go. And that's kind of ruining the illusion, right? We can tell as an audience that the actor really doesn't see that the glass is there, and then that kind of breaks apart the reality of the moment. So I'm going to help slightly because I'm going to give you this pulse on, pulse off. So first we're gonna play with glasses because that's where I see it the most. So again, I have my counter. On my counter I have my glass. What I'm going to do is when I come towards it, I have to see it first. If you don't see it, the audience doesn't. I have to see the glass. I'm going to come at the glass, and then I'm going to give it a little pulse on. Yes? And then I have to pick it up. I have to endow it with weight, because ideally if you're drinking something, there's liquid in this glass. So then I can take a drink. I have to swallow. And then I can put the glass down, and then I'm going to release it with another, with what we call a pulse off. So again, I come in, pulse on, I pick it up, I put it down, pulse off. Yes? This is also when we can start to play with the wall, because I know that when people are first learning mime, all they want to do is like the wall and being trapped in a box. So I'll teach you that as well. So it's the same thing. I'm going to give you a second. I'm going to invite you to go to a wall in your bedroom or in your house somewhere and just put your hands on it and see how it feels. Pause. Did you do it? Okay, great. So now we're going to look at if I have a wall. I'm going to put my wall on a bit of an angle because my camera's on a bit of an angle. And we're going to do the same thing. I bet when you put your hand on your wall, you notice that you came in sort of in a shell form. Your hand is a bit more relaxed. And then when you hit the wall, the hand had to hit into that pallet because hopefully, unless you have some structural damage, your wall should be pretty flat. So again, I'm going to come the same thing. I'm coming in a shell. I'm going to pulse on. Okay? And I'm going to take my other hand. I'm going to pulse on. Yes? Then I have to release my wall. I have to endow with the same thing. So again. And you're trying to keep your hands as close to the same level as possible. And that is pulse on, pulse off. Great. So our last concept for Mime Basics is sense memory. Sense memory is the idea of allowing your audience to enter the world with their senses. So creating those moments that they can identify with for taste or sound or smell, sight, all that kind of stuff creates a more textured world. The best way I like to look at this is through the world of food, because I really like food, but also because we can explore many of the senses just using that. We're going to do it through a guided imagination, so I'm going to invite you to find your own space, somewhere that you feel comfortable. Ideally, you can close your eyes. And I'm going to just invite you to imagine your favorite meal, or a meal you thoroughly enjoy. Do you have one? Great. So I'm going to just ask you a whole bunch of questions. You're just going to think about the responses as you go through. You don't have to answer, but just thinking about how are we creating the ideal meal. So first of all, if you could just visualize what the meal looks like. Does it come on a plate, a bowl, a small plate? Does it come in a box or a carton, a container? What does it look like in terms of color? Is there a lot of color in your meal? Or is it kind of monochromatic? Is it served with utensils? Do you have a fork, knife, spoon, chopsticks? Do you use your hands? So what does it look like? Does it come with a meal and a side, a salad, and a drink? Is it one meal altogether? Start to imagine, if you can, what are the smells that come with this meal? Is it warm? Is it inviting? Does it fill your whole house when it's made? Is it made by a specific, special person? Is it cold? We're going to start to think about how does it smell, and what are those smells? What do those smells remind you of? Finally, we're going to talk about taste. If you can remember how this meal tastes. Is it spicy, hot, cold? Does it hurt your teeth? Do you feel it at the back of your mouth? Do you need it served with milk or a drink of some sort? Is this a special occasion kind of meal? Is it something you get every day? Do you get to eat it with your hands? Is it super messy? Is it all over the place? Do you need a bib or a napkin that goes with it? Once you have all the answers to that, I'm going to invite you to imagine that that meal is right in front of you, and you're going to start to eat it. So again, this is where we start to make real specific choices on how we can identify to the audience what we're enjoying. So is it the twirl of spaghetti? Is it 2 hands of pizza? Do you have a big burger that you're enjoying? Making specific choices allows the audience into our world a little bit more clearly than if we're just shoveling food into our mouth. So if you wanted to take this one step further with all these 3 concepts, fixed point, sense memory, and pulse on, pulse off, I invite you to create a little moment in an imaginary kitchen where you're cooking something. It doesn't have to be super complicated, but it will work on fixed point in terms of where's your counter, where's your fridge, where are your cupboards. It will work on, pulse off, grabbing stuff out of the fridge, holding onto plates, grabbing spoons. What do you need for utensils to make it? Don't forget to put your oven mitts on if you're going to go into the oven. And it will allow us to work on sense memory, because at the end, hopefully you're enjoying the amazing meal you've created. So again, where can we use these concepts? We're creating believable spaces. We're allowing our audience to connect with what we're doing. If we can see it, the audience can see it. We're creating honest and authentic moments. And even if we translate this into scripted work, you still might be in a space where you don't have a lot of props or sets or whatever in your space. So allowing yourself to create the whole world yourself opens up the world of possibilities for acting. This has been Mime Basics. Again, my name is Melissa Mayville. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me, melissa.mayville@epsb.ca. Thank you so much. Take care.